Welcome, welcome, beautiful ones, to this workshop today, where we will root into the beauty of your second spring. Welcome, welcome. Hi, welcome. This is exciting. Wonderful. So, beautiful sisters, I just invite you as we're gathering. Some people are still arriving. Just take a moment to scan your space and make sure you have everything you need. We'll be together for about 2 hours. Make sure you have your tea and your water and your candle and your privacy and your journal. And as we're arriving, we are feeling ourselves root down into the beauty of your second spring. We are going to practice one of my favorite Qigong forms. We are going to learn from and be blessed by and be attuned with some of the most gorgeous herbs that I have been working with for many years, and perhaps you have too, all to support ourselves while we connect with the moon. It is the dark moon, it is the new moon, it is the time to go inward, it is the time to bring our awareness deep inside ourselves into that beauty, into the mystery, into the wisdom that's intrinsic in our bodies as we are transforming and crossing this threshold and from perimenopause into menopause. So we'll just do just a brief centering as we're doing that. As you're getting yourself ready, I just invite you to find your breath. And as you find your breath, just bringing your breath into your body, feeling yourself land here as your breath fills your body and leaves your body. And with each breath, you feel more grounded and stable and rooted and present. And I invite you to, for these next 2 hours, to just set aside everything else so that you can be here and to invite that part of yourself that you recognize as beauty, that part of yourself that is wise, that is connected to the cycles as a cyclical woman, and bring her here into this wisdom circle, into this medicine circle. And I invite you now to extend your awareness to these energies that are cycles that are bigger than you. Extend your awareness to how the moon could be influencing you, how the sun could be influencing you, how these plants and herbs could be supporting you, connecting to something much bigger than you. And with your next breath, connecting to a part of you that that has been in a circle of supporting, of supportive women, of people that love you just for you. It doesn't matter what you say, doesn't matter what you wear, what your hair is, you just are here, and everyone is like, oh, there she is, welcome. And so now realizing that you're in such a circle, and I invite us all to come into our circle as a unified field. And we're going to be using the chat today just to keep the on time, really. And for there, we're a small group here live, and then there's a much larger group on the replay. So all of you are present, and we'll be using the chat today. And then at the end, we'll have a time for talking and questions and answers and sharing and debriefing. Okay. So, but I would love to hear from each one of you. If you would just simply presence yourself in the chat and, just share with us, your name and where you're from, but also what you're bringing into this circle so that we can really co-create an experience that nourishes us on every level, that we're doing this together. And if it feels good to do so, lighting a candle. And while you're doing that, I'll just presence that my intention and my highest prayer for this session is to be with all of you and to really connect with our intrinsic qualities of beauty and our intrinsic qualities of wisdom and resiliency, and how our perception um, creates our reality. And you're in the right place if you're here because you want to know about perimenopause and menopause and you're having symptoms and you're curious about holistic ways to enhance your health and your awareness and your knowledge about what's happening with your body. And you're also in the right place if you're eager to learn about Qigong. And if you're interested in herbs and plants and natural ways and just how to access resources so that you can live the fullest, most beautiful life. I see we have some sisters here from Sacramento, Rochelle. Welcome, Rochelle. And Rochelle is bringing into the circle a sense of curiosity and how to transition into my second spring more easily and to practice Qigong. Beautiful. And Autumn from Indiana. My intention is to learn to sync with the menstrual cycle, with the lunar cycle, and to help relieve some of the symptoms I've been having. And that's wonderful, Autumn, that you're here. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you about those symptoms that you've been having. Okay. And so, yeah, we're starting to. Let me ask you a couple questions. You don't have to answer all of these questions, right? But I want to just get a sense of what brought you here today. Like what brought you here, either live or on the replay, what you're hoping to receive. And it seems like some of you are already starting to think that way, what you're hoping to receive from this experience. And if you could put that in your chat, what you're hoping to receive, what brought you here. And, while you're contemplating all that, another little piece to it is, how do you want to show up for yourself today? How do you want to take really great care of yourself today while we're in this practice? And, and within that, it's like, what do you need so that you can fully receive this experience? And I know those are a lot of questions, but some part of that is starting to stir within you. And encourage you to journal it and share that in the chat. And if you're on the replay, when I ask all these questions, you can always respond to the emails and let me know. I know for me to take good care of myself today, I need to stop and take a deep breath and have a sip and to smile. That always makes me feel so much more grounded. So Rochelle is curious about my inevitable change and learning to sync my habits and cycles to more align with the moon. Perfect. So a lot of women want to sync with the moon. That's perfect. That's exactly what we're going to do today. And Lucy is here from Quebec, Canada. And I'm here to be and become more and more into my body on this planet. Mm, taking care of myself, learning physical 3D tips to tend to myself, inspiration and group and entertainment, and doing alone is more energy. So with others, it feels easier. Oh, I'm really glad you're mentioning many of those things, Lucy. You'll see how all this ties in as we go on. I love this as you're seeding the experience that we're going into. I do want to just share just a little bit about me, a tiny bit. You know, if some of you might be meeting me for the first time, my name is Maria Chaudhry, and I was preparing for this. And I have to say, I asked questions into the Facebook world. It was like, hey, what's going on with your perimenopause? And I got all these answers. And then I was also preparing and I wanted to kind of be smarty pants and, have my game on. So I was watching other people's classes and then they were introducing themselves. And I'm like, whoa, 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 none of that is my experience. None of that. So I was like, well, maybe I have a unique experience, but it's just so normal to me. I had no idea it was unique. But but a lot of women are coming to this stage in life and have no real frame of reference, and they see it as pathology, as like problem, and they might be really having problems, right? And they might be really having a lot of symptoms that are causing them some distress. Um, but I guess my framework is where my lens is that I've come from 20 years of being a home birth midwife, right? I have the steward of the creatrix of Birthsong Botanicals. I make herbal remedies for women and children of every stage of their life, right? I am currently, a spiritual midwife, a facilitator, a ceremonialist, a Qigong teacher, all of which are deeply rooted in cyclical living. And I've been surrounded by wise women, midwives, herbalists, oracles, medicine keepers my whole life. So, from my lens, I've been preparing for this experience for consciously for 20 years, right? I know that every stage leads to the next stage. But that doesn't mean I don't have symptoms. It doesn't mean I don't have challenges. It doesn't mean that I'm not being initiated just as much as everybody else. It also, since I have experience being a women's health practitioner and I make and sell herbal medicine, it also doesn't mean I have all the answers or the solutions that everybody's facing. I'm certainly not a doctor and I can't diagnose or treat or cure or heal anything or give advice. So I just need to preface that. But I do from the perspective that perimenopause and menopause is a rite of passage, it is an initiation that deserves to be honored and celebrated with reverence and with respect. And it is this beautiful mix of enlightenment and struggle. And I'm very aware that many people are having a lot of challenge. They're confused. They don't know what's happening in their bodies. They want to know more about it. They're feeling alone in their experience. They are changing roles. Some of them are still moms of young children and going through perimenopause. Their bodies are changing, their weight, their hips and joints are hurting. Oh my goodness, their mind and their emotions and their hormones are all over the place, and they have sleepless nights filled with waves of heat that are not from passion, but from sweat and hot flashes, and they got to change the sheets in the morning. And and that's what women are, that's the world that women are in right now. And so that's why I feel so called to share this body of work. And so I would love to hear from you. Just what are some of your perimenopausal symptoms and challenges that you're facing right now? What are you experiencing? You can just put it in the chat. Okay, so looks like for autumn, for the past several years, I've been bleeding, spotting 3 weeks each month. Bleeding, spotting three. So you're having irregular menstrual cycle. Okay. Now this Qigong practice is specifically for that. So it's for women of all, it doesn't matter if you don't have to be perimenopause or menopause for this practice, you're a menstruating woman, that we want to harmonize and regulate your menstrual practice, your menstrual cycle with the moon, so that it's, I don't want to say efficient, but yeah, that it's more efficient and cohered and harmonious and so this practice will help. And for a person that's still menstruating, you should see, it's likely that you'll see with regular practice that this will it's designed to synchronize your cycle. So I would love to hear what happens for you in your practice. And okay, so let's see what else is here. Rochelle is saying, I've just started this changing process, so cycles are becoming a bit irregular, and I'm starting to experience the heat, especially waking up on fire. Right, so hot flashes. Hot flashes, that's a in today after our session, you're going to receive a handout, and in you'll receive two handouts. One that I created and one somebody else created. You remember in the beginning I was that I watched other people and I tried to be smarty pants? Well, she created a great handout all about hormones, and I realized she already did that beautiful work. So I'm going to share that handout with you. And in that handout of her work, it's Dr. Sarah Godfrey, it's going to be a questionnaire about, okay, how do I know if I am low on progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, cortisol? What's my thyroid? And so you can go through this questionnaire and see, like, oh, and have a better understanding about your hormone. But then the handout that I created, hot flashes, you're going to receive a 3 acupressure points to massage every day on your ankles that are specifically for hot flashes. I asked my acupuncturist the other day, I'm like, what would you recommend? She was like, this is what I give everybody. So you have those points in your handout. And in the Qigong practice, we'll do one movement that is specific for hot flashes. Okay, let's see. Now, Lucy's saying, putting on more weight for sure. Yeah, me too. Um, but I am more feeling the need to slow down for my body and to tap into more than pushing like the young maiden. And get everything done everywhere and listening more to my body, tending to it. No hot flashes yet, and irregular moons, not that often now. Right there, I just want to pause right there, Lucy, because like we're going through all these problems that people have. I could give you a whole long list. You already know them. And they're in your and I just kind of mentioned them, plus they're in your handout. But people that have a cultivation practice, or they have a basic level of health, there's many women go through perimenopause and they don't have this laundry list, right? This laundry list of problems comes from multifactorial issues, so I don't want to generalize it. Generally speaking, it comes from depletion. It comes from depletion, constant state of stress, constant overgiving, and not tending to themselves year after year for year after year. By the time we're in perimenopause, perimenopause can start as early as, in your 30s, but generally menopause happens in your 40s, 50s, 60s. But if you've been doing that for so many years, you're taxed out. Your kidney energy from a Qigong perspective is depleted. And that's called your essence. When your essence is depleted, bad news bears, you feel bad. And then your hormones drop and then you feel worse. And so people that have a preservation of their kidney energy tend to have smooth sailing. So yeah. And the slowing down, that's listening to wisdom of your body. I'm going to take a sip and a nice deep breath as we receive what women are going through and the challenges. And before we drop into the practice a little bit more, I guess I have another little question for you is, well, what do you like? What do you like about the stage of life that you're in right now? What do you appreciate? What do you enjoy? What do you love about your body and what you're going through right now and the experience and the transformation that you're in? Because yeah, I mean, this whole long list of, you know, heart palpitations and brain fog and low libido and achy joints, none of that feels good, but there's got to be something else that's also happening. Okay, so Autumn is appreciating the wisdom that I gained by listening to my body and learning how to respond to it. Yes, yes. And Rochelle is, I'm actually enjoying still menstruating. I know it will end sometime, so trying to enjoy the last bit as I watch my friends transition. And Rochelle, that's my story too. This whole last year, I was in a womb temple and I just dedicated it to just loving my menstruation. And I'm just now in this place where I haven't had a period for a couple months. So I don't know, right? But I feel it, because of that last year, I feel complete. Last year, I was mourning my menstruation even while I still had it. I was mourning that I wasn't going to have it while I was having it. And now I'm starting to not have it and I'm feeling at peace with that. Okay. And so Lucy is sharing the wisdom and the calmness of not caring that much about what others say or think, and moving more and more towards that. Yet being more me, because my body doesn't follow. And oh, yes, I miss having my moon time. I love that when they show up. Yes. And, you've all present something right here, like the listening to your body and responding, because, and being more yourself, because these are also symptoms of perimenopause and menopause. One thing is that your body, that your energetic body changes. There's a picture of it in your handout, but your body, how it receives energy before you're menstruating, and then when it receives energy as a menstruating woman, but then when it receives energy from the universe when you hold your blood, your whole energetic infrastructure starts to expand and change. So becoming more of yourself is a byproduct. And that that energetic changing of your infrastructure starts to create these healthy boundaries where you can speak your truth, and you're just healthier in general, like the lifestyle choices that you're making because you know yourself better and you know what you need, and you're living more in connection with nature. And it is a time of spiritual awakening. And it's a time of trusting the transformation because you've been through cycles of birth, life, death, and rebirth so many times now. And you know it's encoded in you, and you're able to go through the experience with less resistance and a lot more gentleness. Mm. So, okay, so what are the menopausal years? This is just a little teaching here. You know, as humans, as women, we're a little bit unique from other animals in that we menstruate and that we have two puberties. We have a second puberty, which is called menopause, perimenopause, and it's referred to as the second spring in Chinese medicine. And so during our, I like to say menopausal years. It's hard for me sometimes because people, though it's like it's such a mouthful. Perimenopause, menopause. There is a distinction. So I'll just say the menopausal years. Um, that's when our fertility diminishes. We're no longer like available to be producing babies, and but the teachings that of the red tents, the teachings of the blood mysteries temples, of the women's mystery schools, you know, they teach of the power of menstruation, right? And you know, they're ancient teachings, but they're modern teachings, and they recognize fundamentally the beginning of menstruation when you start your menarche. That's a point of power where your life is radically different. And then when you stop bleeding, again at the ending, that represents another significant change of power. And there are a few significant times in the blood mysteries teachings, you know, of menstruation and of pregnancy and childbirth and menopause, and they all symbolize profound moments of complete life transformations, profound love, and profound power. And menopause is a change, it's a metamorphosis at a cellular level, and it mirrors, and it's probably even not mirroring, but it is probably the origin of these classic stages of initiation where you're like, oh, I gotta go be by myself. I need to like cut off, I need to go be within myself for a moment. And then the release, the dying, the shedding, the letting go, and then the rebirth and the regeneration. So each woman's is going through a metamorphosis. And each one of these stages or phases, you know, you have your perimenopause, your before, and then you have this liminal space, and then you have after menopause, which is postmenopausal. And so each one of these stages are of menopause are like metaphoric change, but they're also chemical and biological changes. And each stage and phase has a very different need and a very different challenge and very different initiations. But in your handout, you'll see I give a few more definitions that I didn't include here. Is that menopause, meno means menstruation, pause means stop, stopping menstruation. So the symptoms of perimenopause can start early, in like about around in the 30s, and then but really in their 40s is when it tends to really pick up. And then menopause, there is it's marked when it's 1 year after your last menstrual cycle. That's menopause. So technically, menopause lasts for 1 day. You're only in menopause for 1 day, and then you're postmenopausal. And then if you start bleeding again, you're back in this liminal state. Okay. But I just want to kind of get out of our head and out of what definitions are. And I just want us to come into this place of beauty, because the name of this workshop is Root into the Beauty of Your Second Spring. And in Qigong, Qigong sees perimenopause as your second spring. That means it's seeing that you have a new opportunity to, because your energy shifts from, we're going to go into this practice, but I'm going to scoot back just a little bit. But the energy from when you're menstruating, the energy from your heart, we have a vessel called the bow mai. The word bow means marvelous, treasure. Mai means channel. So the channel of energy to the marvelous treasure, and it connects your heart and your uterus. And when you're menstruating, the energy from your heart goes to your uterus, and then you give to the world, right? You give it all to the world, to your babies, to your project, to your family, right? But then when you stop bleeding, the energy shifts from your uterus out, and then the uterus, it comes up into your heart. And then from there, that's what we're going to work on today, this channel, this heart channel. So from Qigong, it's called your second spring, because now your heart is activated. Your heart can open, your heart can expand, and now you can receive. You have this heart mind, the spirit heart mind that is fed from your uterus rather than your heart feeding your uterus. So it literally rises up and blooms inside you in a new way. And so that's why perimenopausal women, they start to withdraw, and then menopausal women, when they stabilize, they stabilize in their heart. They become this, like, they're not on such an emotional roller coaster. They know themselves, and they're tending to their inner landscape, and they step into this place of leadership and this place of power, and they become often teachers at this point. And it's this initiation of the heart, and it's a new opportunity. That's why it's called the second spring. Okay. And so we're going to do work at that practice. And so root into the beauty of your second spring. And this is really what I want to share with you, because there is a path, the path of beauty. And beauty is not some like sweet little syrupy quality that's like drippy, right? It is profound. And there are traditions all over the world that dedicate their whole life to the beauty path or the beauty way. And this is the essence of beauty that is active within each one of us. It's a quality of spirit that's intrinsic within us and everywhere. And you tend to notice beauty. You might pick it up because you see it, or you smell it, or you can hear it, or you somehow perceive beauty in the field, and you're just like, oh my God, there's beauty there. Oh my gosh. Ooh, that person is beautiful. The sunset is beautiful. The trees, the painting, this quality of spirit is everywhere, and it's moving you, right? This beauty. And this beauty is not attraction. It's not like, oh, she's attractive or he's attractive. It's not attraction at all. It's more like radiance. When we begin to embody beauty, when we begin to embody the truth of who we really are, we radiate beauty. Confucius, an ancient sage, Chinese sage, he says, there's beauty everywhere, but not everyone can see it. Right? Everything has its own radiance. Everything has its own beauty. But when we have our certain level of judgment of what beauty needs to be, it needs to look a certain way. Maybe we define it according to our culture, to our society, to our status quo. Then we eliminate all manner of beauty that we have defined out of our perception, because instead of seeing what's here as beauty, it doesn't fit to our perception, right? So those of us that are on the beauty path, we are being asked to open our inner eyes, to open our inner ears, our inner hearts, to see and feel and know that there's beauty everywhere. And there's beauty in places and things that some would call destruction. Like what you would call destruction, Mother Nature may call as a cleansing. You know, in the forest, there are seed pods that they're buried in the earth for many years, and it doesn't matter how much rain or how much you've shifted the earth. This seed pod cannot break open. The only thing that breaks it open is a forest fire. And when the seed pod gets too hot, it bursts open, and then a new tree emerges, a new forest emerges from that seed pod. So on one level, it is destructive. And on another level, it's new life for that tree, for that seed, for that forest. Is it possible that we have aspects within ourselves that are like those seeds, that need those waves of heat to activate us, to open us up to something new? And that might be a dangerous analogy. I'm certainly not going to play with fire. But what I'm trying to illustrate is that beauty is everywhere. And it's beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? And so when we're doing our spiritual work, when we're in temple or we're in Qigong practice, what are we doing? We're clearing up our perceptual window. We're clearing our windows, our lenses, so that our prejudices, our judgments, our limited points of view are not hindering our ability to see the beauty that is everywhere. If the presence of spirit is omni, it's everywhere, and beauty is an aspect of spirit, it means beauty is omni and it is everywhere. And that means it's in the decaying, it's in the whole life cycle, it's in the planting of the seed, it's in the blooming and the flowering of the seed, it's in the harvesting of the seed, it's in the composting of the seed. Beauty is in every stage, in every season of our life, not just when we're the maiden at Menarche. It's at every stage. And most of us are locked into this Western society point of view that youth and the maiden is the superior, beautiful stage. And so, but when we have the eyes of beauty, we start to see possibility and potential for opportunities and for new ways where before there appeared to be no way. Before there appeared to be just simple block and ugly. And now with the eyes of beauty, you see a whole different world. And there is a difference between the world and the planet. They are not the same thing. The planet, as our sister shared in the chat just a moment ago, the planet is Earth. It is Gaia. It is Great Mother, a living being, a living with rainforest and mountains and deserts and rivers and lakes and oceans and ice caps. It is a living being. The energy keeps expanding and the vibration keeps rising. It is conscious. However, the world is not the earth. The world is a set of assumptions, a set of beliefs, a set of perceptions, of points of view, a set of positions that we all agree upon. So, you know, that we have a world view. And there are two people, we can be two people sitting in the same place on earth and be in two different worlds. Their perceptions and their points of view are vastly different. So one person could be in the world of perimenopause and they're only perceiving the wrinkles and the gray hair and the old age and the weight gain and the forgetfulness and the suffering, and they're just suffering in it. And some of those need more care, right? That's true. And then there's another person that's in the world of beauty, and she sees wisdom, she sees freedom, she sees awakening, she sees power, she sees love, she sees healthiness, she sees boundaries, she sees a wisdom that is there. And all of this is based on their perception. So when we're in the process of eliminating our prejudgments and our societal biases, you can actually see that beauty is everywhere. And it is radiating from the very depth of your being. And you are no longer trying to move through the world being young and attractive. Instead, you're moving through the world as being radiant being of light, love, and wisdom. And so along with this dynamic beauty also comes order and harmony. And, some say that order is heaven's first law. When you look out in nature, you see these patterns of nature. That's order. And that's a harmonious order. Now, that underpinning of that pattern of nature, that order, beauty, and harmony, that's also called Tao. And so, this Tao is the underpinning of the order of nature as it unfolds harmoniously. And so that doesn't mean that there's not chaos. Of course, there's chaos, right? But however, if we step back far enough from chaos, we can see that the underlying order that's trying to emerge. So when you step back from the caterpillar far enough, you're like, oh, I can see the butterfly. When you step back from a woman in labor and she's just breathing through the intensity of her contractions and she's struggling and working for it, but then when you step back, you see that a baby is being born. So when you step back far enough from the intensity of a woman's hot flashes, you can see that she's rebirthing herself. Remember, love, you are not of this world. You are a daughter of the earth. So, let's take that in. You're a daughter of the earth. So, daughters of the earth. I'm going to pause. We're about to transition and look at some herbs. And in the chat, I see Dao, D-A-O, and then I see T-A-O, right? And they're both right. They're both right. It just depends on who's saying it. I was going to read you a passage. Oh, here, I'll read you a passage. I was going to start with this. So now is a good time. I'll read you a passage from this book. This is one of my new favorite books. It's called The Tao of Women. The Tao of Women. Okay. Seasons. Oh, I'll just tell you really quickly. This book, what makes this book so cool, this is a variation of the Tao Te Ching. Tao Te Ching is one of the most widely read books written by Lao Tzu, and it's been translated. This is a variation of it. It's written by these two women. And what happened is these two women went into China, and they found in these small villages, there, not even just in these small villages, but in this particular village, a woman was lost, and she had this handkerchief, and she went to the police to try to find this handkerchief because it had some characters, Chinese characters engraved on it, and she knew it was from her family. So she went and she was trying to be reconnected to her family, but no one could read the Chinese characters. They were like, we don't even know what this means. And then it turns out that it was a hidden language from women. Women would have a secret language and they would uh, stitch needlework it into their handkerchiefs, into their bridal clothes, into all these things. And people didn't recognize it because it was nonchalant and nondescript and small. And it was a way that women could communicate. And so this book talks about that. And each page, for example, will have a common Chinese character. And then next to it will have its version of it in this woman's language. And so you have this, and then it has a variation of a passage of the Tao Te Ching. So I'm going to read you this. It's called The Seasons, number 29. Celebrate the changing seasons of your life. Youth, adolescence, woman, crone. Imitate Mother Nature as if you had a choice. All things have their time. Don't push or block the river. It goes where it must. Let me share with you a little about some herbs, and then we'll do a Qigong practice. Okay? And so I'm going to have to share my screen. So just bear with me. Have a sip of tea while I get this together. Okay. Herbs for perimenopause. Now, how could I, you know how many herbs there are for perimenopause? I mean, a lot. So how could I pick which three? Well, I picked which three based on this is Women's Wisdom. This is my newest herbal creation. And so I'm super excited about it. And so these herbs that I'm about to share with you are in here. And they're also in this gorgeous deck of cards that when I opened them up, I was moved to tears. And so that's how you got these three herbs, because the oracle and the creation of herbal medicine was like, these are the three herbs you're going to learn. So here we go. So let's just take this in, this image. Remember that Bao Mai? So I'm just going to let you just breathe and receive that for a moment. What are you seeing here? Now this is motherwort. Motherwort is an herb that I've worked with for many years. Perhaps you know her too. And there's so much more to be said than what I'm going to say, but I'm just gonna honor this card. I'm just gonna let the card speak for itself, and then I'm gonna just read these two little snippets, and then I'll fill in some details. So if you were to have received this card in a reading, right, it would say upright. This card, in this herb, motherwort, symbolizes strength, and it's the essence of creation, and it's connecting to the creatrix within, fertility, birth, creativity, and inner trust. Now, why would you want to work with motherwort? Why would you want that? And so if this was like a card reading, it would be like upside down. You'd be like, oh. So maybe, if not, don't see it as a card reading, but see it as, oh, why would I want motherwort? Maybe I'm feeling weakness. I'm feeling depleted. My heart is unopened. I'm disappointed. I feel disconnected from creation or a lack of creativity. I would also say this card, how I would describe it when I think of motherwort, it's when you're like being pulled in many different directions. And just for a moment, you can't just you can't go retreat just yet. You have to kind of keep going for just a moment, and you're feeling like frazzled. And that's when I feel like motherwort really shines. So, motherwort is its botanical name is Leonis cardaca, and it comes from the Leonis, lion, and cardacia, heart. So it's the lion-hearted. And um, so when you think of this card, it's like the radiance of the lion's heart. It's a matriarchal herb. And motherwort's energy builds inner trust and confidence. And the lion-hearted motherwort is representative of the beauty we possess when we own the power of our gifts and creativity. The goddess sits centered as the lion leans in on her in a state of peaceful delight, symbolizing the unwavering faith we must keep as we transcend old fears. Venus, her planetary ruler, is like a midwife to our happiness, channeling how we accept and transmit our heart's desires. And we find new ways to facilitate creativity that honor and reveal our passions and strengths, and devote yourself to the fertility of your gifts and courageously accept your divine destiny. What do you see in the card? Maybe if you want to journal it or share it in the chat. Um, you don't have to get caught. This is in your handout. When you get your handout on that blue link, you can click it and it opens up to even more. But think of the lion-hearted as courage, and it is a matriarchal herb because it's primarily works with that Baomai channel, the heart and the womb, right? And it's great for heart palpitations. And when you feel like you have frazzled nerves, and for those that are still menstruating, and they're having irregular cycles, it's not like messing with your hormones per se, but it does help bring on like a delayed menstruation. And so one that's a little late. And so it helps you have an easy flow. And if you have painful cramps, it helps ease your cramps. Okay. Bowing to Motherwort. There's much more to her. Now let's see who else is here. Let's take this in. What do you see? What is this being transmitted to you? St. John's wort. Mm. One thing I see is we just did spring Qigong. So I want to see like if Rochelle, she's been practicing spring Qigong with me, if she sees two things that I see. Yeah, she sees the deer and what's in the middle, the cauldron. Those are two things we just have been working with very closely. So very cool. And there's a lot here. So St. John's wort, Hypericum perforatum, is about joy and warmth and sunshine and resilience and happiness and understanding and illumination and manifestation and spiritual power and just like running free. Like it's the peak of summertime. It is the most like solar, bright, shiny, golden. It blooms on summer solstice. Okay. Now, there's a lot to be said, but we'll distill it to this. The midsummer goddess celebrates the multifaceted elements of life in a state of joyous abundance, reminding us that the wellspring of true wealth and healing is within. St. John's wort is here to remind you to cultivate practices deep within yourself to experience this enlightening truth. I'm going to say that one more time as a Qigong teacher. St. John's wort is here to remind you to cultivate practices deep within yourself to experience the enlightening truth. Avoidance and distraction from the great knowing are unconscious habits that build up and manifest as scarcity, fear, low moods that inhibit you from walking your truth. St. John's wort grants us the spiritual courage of fire needed to navigate the death of the old self. I'm going to do that again. Remember that wildfire that you need to have the seeds to open up to burn away the old thing so the new thing? St. John's wort grants us the spiritual courage of fire needed to navigate the death of the old self. Now, St. John's wort is way I work with it mainly. I mean, it is in this blend, but all the other products, it's in first aid. It's for first aid, wound healing, burns, scars, salves, nerve pain, joint pain, and but it's, most people know it as anxiety, mood, depression. It just stabilizes the emotional roller coaster. Uh, Cool. And so let's take a nice deep breath, honoring St. John's wort, bowing. And the final herb for today is Tulsi. Tulsi is, this is a Rama Tulsi. Um, okay. Tulsi represents true wealth, prosperity, charismatic, vivacious, luxury, beauty, and auspiciousness. Now it's reverse, like you'd be like, why would I need Tulsi? Well, maybe because you're naive or you're vain. Ignorance, emptiness, immaturity, obsession with the material world. Now, this plant is also called holy basil. So when in the ancient trade routes, Tulsi is a goddess plant. It's a plant associated with the goddess Lakshmi. And so India was ultimately flooded with Christians and they loved this plant. So they changed the name and they didn't want to call it a Lakshmi Rama plant. So they called it holy basil and then worked on and they included it into their lives because it's such a beautiful plant. Okay, so Tulsi, the goddess, sits proudly facing her beautiful peacock, symbolizing heaven on earth. She raises her arms with grace, aiming them like wands to catalyze magic and wealth. The fountain is centered between the goddess and the peacock, representing a wellspring between earth, the manifest world, and heaven, the spirit world. The peacock embodies the medicine of auspicious magic and beauty, reminding us that we are the living gateway to the greatest mysteries. Tulsi is the doorway of abundance to live and create and communicate from a place of wonder, innocence, and impeccability. And it is reminding us rather, don't be fooled by the material possessions or vanity of worshiped material world, to tune into the deeper realities that abound you. Be spontaneous and celebrate your temple just as you are. But I really want to emphasize right here the vanity often worshiped by the material world. Remember, you are not of this world. You are a daughter of the earth. Tulsi is great for your bones. It's great for hot flashes, mood swings. It's an adaptogen, so it helps you improve your stress response, helps you sleep. It helps reduce anxiety. It is an ancient, sacred, reverent herb for many reasons. And that's why it is the principal herb. It is the primary herb of women's wisdom. And I'm not going to go into these. These are in your handout. I'm going to stop screen share and let's practice some Qigong. Okay.
Maria, there was a question in the chat
Oh,
about
okay.
do we get all of these benefits from just drinking the herbs? How do we ingest? I loved that question, Lucy.
Yes. Oh, let me do one thing here on technical and then I'll answer that. Okay, so how do we get the benefits of these herbs? There's a lot of ways to get benefits of herbs. So it depends on what you're doing, what's the reason. Okay, so which herb depends on. So let's just say St. John's wort. I mean, I don't know what herb you were going to talk about, but maybe put that in the chat so I can know. But tea is often one of the great ways. Depends on how much time you have, how many resources. Yes, it was St. John's wort. And so it depends on what benefit you want. Okay, St. John's wort is for body pain, physical pain, joint pain, right? So if that's the case, you could take a bath in it. You could take it as a capsule. You could drink it as a tea. You could take it as a tincture. That would be great. Now, if it's a first aid thing, it's going to be in a salve, it's going to be in an oil, it's going to be in a spray, and you would apply it topically. Now, if it's for your mood, to stabilize your mood and your emotions, a tea or a tincture would be great. The thing about a tea versus a tincture, okay, a tincture, well, I have one. Here's a new one I'm doing, doesn't have a great label yet. Black cohosh is simple extraction. But a tincture takes the herb and all its properties. Now, some of these herbal properties are better extracted with alcohol because alcohol is a stronger solvent and it can extract some of the medicinal properties better. Now, but that wouldn't be the case for Tulsi. Tulsi's aromatic. When you rub its fingers, rub the leaves, you can smell it's aromatic, right? So those that are really aromatic, basil, Tulsi, lavender, all those ones that smell great, those are better to drink as a tea because those volatile oils are sensitive and alcohol in a way kind of destroys it. So you would drink that as a tea, whereas St. John's wort, it is very beautiful, but it's kind of hardy, so you could take it as a tincture. A tea just takes a little longer to make and you have to like kind of clean up and, clean your kitchen counter. Whereas a tincture, you can just drop this in your pocket or bag and you can have a sip of water, hold the water under your tongue, drop a little of the tincture in your mouth, swallow, and keep on going. And this is shelf stable. It can be in, just don't keep it in the sunlight, but it can last for years and years and years and years and years, like 10 plus years. Whereas a cup of tea, you make the tea, you invest it in the tea, and now you got to drink it or you got to put it in the refrigerator because you just lost it. Where so it kind of, there's a lot of ways to answer that question. Did I answer it a little bit? Is there any other follow-up to that? Or do we feel ready to do Qigong? Yeah? Okay. So for Qigong practice, you can do this seated. I'm going to stand up. So invite you to find your feet. In this practice, this is a new moon practice. It's called either pulling down the moon. It's also called the dark moon practice. of women's Qigong. Qigong means it's internal. So all of this might feel very subtle or obvious to you. However you receive it is fine. There is no right or wrong at this point. There is so much more, just like with the herbs, there's so much more to this form than what I can say in this short amount of time. Plus, we're in a stage of opening our inner eyes and ears to beauty and wisdom. So we're going to let this transmit this teaching. So take a moment to connect with your breath. And always when I'm orienting myself to the space, I notice I naturally do this. I start to gently rock and sway. You can't see my feet. I'm going to just step back just so you can see. See how my feet, I'm just about shoulder width apart. My knees are slightly bent. But I'm going to step forward so I have range of motion. Okay. And so just gently orienting yourself in the space. At first, you're orienting yourself in the room you're in. You see the ceiling, you see the floor, you see the walls, finding where you are. And now you're starting to orient yourself into the interior of your being. Breathing down deep into your abdomen. When you're gently rocking and swaying as you're feeling yourself become grounded. And we are just going right into the practice. So we didn't have a warm up, and that's okay. But just standing here in this moment with your breath is an important component to feeling yourself arrive and settle. You're not necessarily focusing on anything. You're just allowing yourself to become centered and aligned and emptied. And so now we're just going to start this practice. I invite you to bring your hands together as if you're holding something precious here. You are holding something precious. And as we're connecting, imagine that you have a line from your fingers, each finger, an energetic thread. And as you're breathing in, your abdomen's expanding, your hands are gently floating away. And as you're exhaling, maybe your hands are coming closer together. And you can sense and feel how your fingers are making a net. They're stretching. And this net, this energy is stretching and then coming together. And now this form has 3 components. The first component and the third component look really similar, but the intention is very different. And so as you're connecting with your breath and connecting with this energy that's running through your fingers, as you're creating a net with your finger, you're feeling your feet rooted into the earth. You're feeling the top of your head lifted. And you're connecting now to this dark moon, this new moon, this yin, feminine, mysterious, beautiful moon. And whether you feel it physically or not, just imagine, if you're not feeling it physically, just imagine that this dark moon, rather than lifting you up and pulling you out like a full moon does, it's actually consolidating you. It's actually bringing you more to your center, more to your midline, more to the central column. It's not calling you outward. It's bringing you in like a magnet, drawing you in. And now from here, let's use this thread, this net of light that we're creating. And let's connect this into the inside of our body. And so what we're going to do is you're going to just gently, as you inhale, your hands are going to gently rise up to your heart. And then as you exhale, your hands are going to float down to your womb. And as you inhale, your hands float up, your body sinks just a little bit. And as you exhale, your hands float down. And so what we're doing is that Bao Mai, the heart womb vessel, the precious, marvelous vessel. We are stringing our fingers of light through this vessel so gently, so lovingly, that what we're doing is we're sifting and sorting. We're organizing and bringing order and harmony into this energy vessel. We're not fixing or changing, we're organizing, sifting and sorting. As you breathe in, your hands rise. As you breathe out, much of perimenopause and our emotional upset in life, no matter what stage we're in, is because energy between our womb and our heart is disconnected, and there's a lot of blockages and distortions in this vessel. And so we're just sifting and sorting. I'm going to do this in silence for just a few passages. Let's see what the form has to show you here. Sifting and sorting, harmonizing, bringing order, gently. Now we're about to transition into the next step. So when your hands float down, you've exhaled. So now when you're ready to inhale, you're going to inhale and open up. And you're going to connect with and gather that dark moon. And your fingers are going to face the top of your head, Bai Hui, your crown. This central channel runs from your top of your head down to your perineum, through the center of your body. So your fingers are relaxed, pointing down to Bai Hui, as your crown and your central channel is called Zhang Mai. This central channel makes itself available, and this dark moon, this yin energy, starts to now pour down your central channel, all the way down now into your heart, and down into your womb. And then at the bottom, you unspiral your hands, you inhale, you open up to receive, and then as you exhale, you're emptying yourself while the dark moon energy pours into your body. Now I'm moving fairly slowly, so move at the rate that you can coordinate your breath so that your hands float down, that this is a complete exhale, but you're not like grasping for your breath when you inhale. Like this becomes smooth and gentle. And as your hands float down, as you exhale, there's a little sinking, settling as the energy comes to your body, your hips and knees sort of settle. And then as you inhale, there's a gentle rising, gathering the dark moon. And then you're letting it settle as you empty. And let's be in silence. Now, after this next one, we're going to transition. So when your hands make it to the bottom, they spiral out, but instead of going up, you're going to reconnect to that net, right? So from this time, our intention isn't to sift and sort. Our intention is to cleanse and clear and remove any blockages. So this hands of light become almost sticky, like Velcro. And so it's like you're dredging through, like filtering through. So as you inhale, you're dredging through, you're filtering through your bowel line. And now as you exhale, you're like collecting and gathering all the blockages, and then you're pulling them out. And then it's as if you open up the palms of your hands and you release it and you give it to the earth. So then you'll inhale and you'll create that net and you'll dredge it through, filter it through, collect and connect with all the things that energy that needs to be removed, and then remove it as if you're pulling it out and offering it. Honestly, my first one, I always offer it as an act of devotion. Just like in the Blood Mysteries Temple, we see our menstruation not as something dirty, but as an offering. There's something very different of offering something to the earth as compost as it is as you're offering something to the earth as a sacred offering. So my first passage, for me personally, I make it a sacred offering. And then the other ones, they're compost. So my first passage, I'm giving something beautiful to the earth. And then my next ones, I'm pulling out the residue, the old, the stuck, the stagnant, the sad, the whatever it is in there. Sometimes while I'm in this practice, I don't really have too many like awarenesses, but later I do. But I personally can really feel this right here, this dredging through. So if you feel any resistance anywhere, just soften and make it as gentle as possible. And then you feel it pulling out and then offering it to the earth. Just a few more times in silence. After this next one, we're going to transition one more time. All those components are the pieces of the form. What we're about to do is the form. Okay? We're going to having a nice deep breath. We'll start the form now. You're rooted in the beauty of the earth, nourished by the earth. You're being consolidated and brought into your center with this dark moon. And now we'll start with the first passage. We'll sift and sort, bringing harmony and order. And now we'll inhale, open, receive the wisdom and grace. And now exhale and empty your vessel as you're being filled with the yin quality of the dark moon. Now, gather and remove what you do not need and give it to the earth. Inhale, sift and sort. Gather, let your hands rise as you rise. Exhale, fingers point down, and let your eyes, now that you start to know it, let your eyes go inward as you feel yourself sinking, exhaling, emptying, while you're simultaneously being filled. And then when you inhale, there's a little bit more of a sink to your body. And then when you exhale, now you're gathering and you're removing and you're like rising up and you're pulling all of this out that you don't need. Memories, patterns, thoughts. Inhale, sift and sort. Exhale, continuing that sifting, sorting. Inhale, rising so gently, receiving. Now you're dredging through, you're removing and releasing and letting go the old identities, the old beliefs. I notice when I let my hands rise, I open my eyes, and then when I let my hands float down, I go inward. That's just up to you. Removing, dredging, pulling out, magnetizing to your hands as if they're magnets, and it's pulling to you all the fibers, all the filaments that aren't needed in your body. Letting them go, giving them to the earth. Let's do this a few more times, at least one more time in silence. Letting the form teach you. Let's do it one more time, and that'll be our last time. And as you give it all to the earth, just take a second and just kind of feel that you're let whatever's happening in your body to, like, give it the space it needs to complete as it flows from the palms of your hands into the earth. And to complete this form, we're going to pull down the heaven. And it's similar to what we just did, except for it's called pull down the heavens. It's another little practice. And this little pull down the heavens piece is what you would do if you have hot flashes. Pull down the heavens piece is what you do to center yourself, to complete, to integrate, to prepare for bed. The practice that we just did should only be done during the dark moon. If you do it at other times, it might interfere with your menstrual cycle. Now, if you're postmenopausal and you're not menstruating anymore, this practice, along with going out and being with the moon and doing this ideally the day before, the day of, and the day after. I'm saying day, but I really should be saying the night of the dark moon. That's the only time you should do those forms. And if you're postmenopausal, those women won't have the obvious result of their menstrual cycle being synchronized, but what they could possibly experience is a deeper connection, or much broader spiritual expansion connection. This is a very simple form, but it is connected to high levels of spirit. So at different stages of our development, we'll receive different results. But as we're going to complete pulling down the heavens, you're just reaching up. And as you pull down the heavens, you let your hands float down as you exhale. And it's like you're smoothing out the experience. You're sealing it in. You're integrating it all the way from your crown, all the way down to all parts of your body, not just by Bao Mai, just all the way down through your legs, down into the earth, and then rising back up. Usually we do pull down the heavens at least 3 times. Now, that's just to complete a practice. But in life, you can pull down the heavens as many times as you need. And as you inhale, it's one breath up, one breath down. And this simple movement right here is great for hot flashes, because if you've had hot flashes, you know, you need a huge drink of water, and then your head gets really hot and your back gets really hot, and all this heat is rising up in your head. And what you're doing is you're taking the coolness of the moon, and it's also, when you're having hot flashes, think of cool silver moon, not a sun, or rain. Think of rain, cool silver moon, winter, something that's cooling, and you're just like cooling the heat. You're bringing all that heat down. You're directing it gently, loving it to come down into your lower, this is called your lower dantian, down into your cauldron, into your womb space. You want heat down here. That's metabolism that helps you lose weight, right? But if you have heat up here, you're overthinking, your anxiety, you're busy, your thoughts are running a million miles, you can't sleep. If you have heat here, you're emotional, you're all over the place, you're just like emotional roller coaster. But if you have heat here, like, it's because then it's mixed with water of your womb and water of your kidneys. This heat creates a warmth that is invigorating, that is life giving, right? So that's why we always close the practice this way. And now we'll do one last one. We'll step our hands and our feet together, and like as you push this energy, it's like you're pushing it down and you're rising up, and it's like you're straightening your spine, and then you can shake it out, right? Now, I called this a workshop. I didn't call it a temple. If you train or practice with me, we always cross through gates. And so it's within me that I didn't lead you through a gate in that moment, and I felt myself wobble, but I can't not bow out. So right hand makes a fist. This is yang. This is energy that rises. This is brilliance. Sunny. This is like St. John's wort. Running free, right? And then this is yin. This is like motherwort, the goddess. And then you're going to bring them into your heart. And then we're going to bow. And we're going to bow to each other. We're going to bow to the moon, to St. John's wort and Tulsi and motherwort and all that's been shared here as our metamorphosis. And so, and as we inhale, you inhale the harmony and the gratitude for the experience, the beauty of the experience, and then you step back across the threshold. And while you're in this state, I would like to lead you through just a short meditation, and then we'll come back as a group. So if you would like to have a seat where you feel comfortable, in your own private practice, after a dark moon Qigong practice, it would be advisable, and if those that are going to continue to study with me, you would go into silent meditation, stillness. You wouldn't go into a visualization, but we're doing a workshop, and I'm going to lead you through a short visualization. But if you were to, in your own time after your Qigong practice, sit down in a seated silent meditation, then you'll really receive the benefit. So as we get comfortable, staying in this beautiful space, feeling your awareness coming back inside your body. This journey that we're about to go on is symbolic of your second spring, of your inner garden, of your inner sanctuary. So as we're turning our attention inward and our eyes are gently closing, we prepare ourselves to go on this journey. And this journey begins by you simply walking out your front door, the front door of your home. And as you walk out your front door, you start to walk down your path, the earthen path toward your inner garden. And as you're walking on your earth path, your Tao, your way, you're starting to feel the warmth of the springtime. This is your second spring, so you're starting to feel some warmth of the sun on your body, and you can even turn to the east and feel the sunlight on your cheeks and the soft breeze as you're connecting with the season of spring. As you're walking, and you might start to even hear the sounds of the nature of the birds and the trees, and seeing the trees might be starting to bloom. And even though you don't see the dark moon, you know the dark moon is there. And as you're walking through your beautiful garden, there's beauty. You're starting to explore the beauty of your second spring, of what it means to you. And as you're walking through this garden, there is a lake, clear, pristine mountain lake. And you find yourself standing at the edge of this lake. And on the surface of the water of this crystalline, pristine lake, on the surface of the water, there are tiny little waves that's being caused from the breeze that's blowing through the garden and touching your skin, and that breeze is blowing across the surface of the lake. And on the surface of the lake, the sunlight is being reflected, and there are thousands of little lights dancing on the surface of the water on this lake, in the garden of yourself, of your essence. And as you're standing there with your feet on the earth, you feel yourself rooted into the nourishment of the earth. And you feel how you can receive nourishment through your roots, through the soles of your feet. And you can feel how this nourishment is rising up through your body. And when you look above you, you can see the sky, the open sky, blue sky. And when you connect to the sky, there's this sense of clarity, as if something clear is coming into you. And this clarity is connected to a sense of divine wisdom and understanding that's coming from the sky. And so from the earth, we're receiving energy, power, and nourishment. And from the sky, you're receiving clarity, insight, and wisdom. And as you stand here between earth and sky, in the middle of your garden, at the edge of the lake, with thousands of little waves and dancing lights on the surface of the water, you feel your body as beauty, as an extension of nature. And you feel that this is your true nature. And as you breathe into this true nature of yourself, you start to reflect on and receive the power of what it means to be in your second spring, or in the phase of initiation that you're in. And there's a sensation of gratitude for this process of transformation that's taking place within you. And as you're being nourished by the earth and clarified by the sun, as you're standing in gratitude for the wisdom of your body and its ability to be born and to live and to die and be reborn again and again, to be the maiden, the woman, the crone. And as you're looking at the lake with all the light on the surface and realizing the depth of the water, you can start to imagine that the lights and the depth start to coalesce and start to move through your third eye and starts to penetrate your body. The light from the lake starts to come to your third eye and enter into your body. And then it pours down from your third eye down into this pathway that we just created, down into your heart and down into your lower belly, down into your womb, as it's pouring down your bowel, and it's starting to purify and cleanse your heart as it moves down into your womb space. And what it arrives down in your womb space, this light starts to coalesce and form into a pearl. And you can start to see this entire scene and this entire experience of your garden and of your second spring and of the wisdom and nourishment of this transformation. This entire scene starts to coalesce and condense into that pearl. This whole vision condenses inside you as a pearl in your womb. It becomes embedded. The vision becomes encoded into the pearl and into your womb. And now this is your precious pearl, and so you're invited to take this pearly ball of light and place this pearl inside your womb, even deeper, as if you're placing it into like a box, like a jewelry box or a treasure chest, a precious box. And I invite you to gently seal and close the box and to seal that pearl inside you, knowing that this is your own personal, precious practice. And so right now, you have a pearl filled with luminous light, the wisdom of the dark moon, nourishment of the earth, clarity from the sky. All of that is in your womb space. And I invite you now to start to look through and walk back through your garden and starting to assess in your garden, what does your garden need right now? Ask yourself, what do I need right now? What needs tending to? What actions or thoughts would serve me deeply now as I tend to my inner life garden? What does my transforming body need now? And I invite you to just scan your garden like as if you were walking through the garden, and you may be attracted to a certain medicine plant or to a tree or to something in your garden that has wisdom for you. And I invite you to go to it and to receive it in any way that seems as if it's wisdom or medicine. And as you are receiving your medicine from your inner garden, and so I invite you to take that medicine and, and code that into your pearl, and to thank the garden for everything that has transpired in this journey. And with a heart full of gratitude, it's time to start to walk back. To start to walk back through your garden. To start to walk back along your path. Back through your front door. And you're bringing with you your pearl. As you're walking back through your front door, back into your room, back into your body, into your chair, and starting to come back into our circle. And as you're coming back in, you're coming back with this beautiful pearl. And so I invite you to place your hands, I'm going to scoot back so you can see me, place your hands over your dantian and seal it in so you can remember it, so you can embody it. You may not remember it totally with your logical thinking mind, but your energy body can remember this. And as you seal it in, invite you to just move your body in a way that feels good, and to jot something down and journal what you received from the garden. yin energy is all about stillness and moving slow. And we only have 10 minutes left. And I'd like there to be enough time to share our experiences and to debrief and answer any questions. And I'd also like to invite you to spring Qigong and to deepen the practice. So while you're jotting things down, I'm going to get my screen together and I'm going to share something with you for just a few moments. Oh, you're saying it different. So I know it's we're kind of shifting gears, but just I'm not going to go through this whole page. I'm just going to spend just a moment. This is spring Qigong. We're starting on Monday. I know it seems like it's happening fast, but it's like we're in the window of the dark moon. This is going to be a dark moon. Well, it's going to be a lunar practice. So, spring Qigong, let the dragon carry you. Spring is notorious for wood energy and dragon energy. We'll meet for 8 sessions. Look, there's space for you. You could be wanting to join for if you're having perimenopausal symptoms, but essentially what we're going to be doing is we're going to harness the power of spring and wood and growth, and we're going to harness the lunar cycles, and we're going to work with the dragon. And this is kind of a rare opportunity. Some of these practices are now becoming more popular, but they've been hidden for a really long time. And there's a reason they've been hidden, because there does need to be some containment around them for you to work with them and really receive the benefit. I invite you to just read through the page where you'll learn more about the moon. And I'm just going to show you this graphic right here. We're going to start right here on the dark moon. And so what you learned today, we're going to build on that. And we'll start in the dark moon. And then the next week it starts to grow. The energy starts to grow. You'll be introduced to the dragon. We'll be starting to work with, see how this is a circle? We'll be working a lot with circles and spiraling and coiling. And then on the full moon, you'll start to really be with the dragon. And we'll do a thing called 3 circles around the moon, which is a swimming dragon form. And then it's time to start to wind down. And so what we started as a circle can start to coalesce and start to become a yin yang symbol. And then we'll wind down back to stillness. That's the first 4 weeks. And then we're going to build on that and we're going to grow again. This second time, when we come cycle back, I'm going to lead you on a journey through your first menstruation, because that's sometime when our moon is often associated, menstruation is common. And I'm going to take you on a journey to your first menstruation. And you're like, why would I need to do that? I'm going through perimenopause or menopause. Because there's a lot of healing that happens. There's a lot of power. There's a lot to reclaim, to release, to let go. So you can go into this next phase. I don't know if you remember St. John's wort. She was running naked and the house was burning. That old thing didn't work, so there's a transition. And so there's healing that happens. And then these are some things you might be experiencing that maybe you'd want to join Qigong for, but I'm just going to scroll down here. There's a lot to read. Oh, where is it? Well, another piece about spring and the wood energy is wood is all about creating manifestations and visions. It's taking a vision and taking action on it. So lunar cycle is a great way to work efficiently for a manifestation. So we're going to have some people are going to manifest something. They have a vision and they want to take action. And so in this journey, we're going to be that's an outer component, but you'll be held in a temple. We'll come in a sisterhood. We'll pass through gates. Our first session, the girls are not, the women that practice with me now are not so used to it, but we're going to have silent seated meditation, especially after these things, because what we really are doing from my lens is we're connecting with these intrinsic qualities of spirit within us, and we're connecting with them, attuning to them, and then we're stabilizing them. And once we stabilize them, that becomes foundation for our next stage of development. But if we can tap into something that's cool, but through silent meditation, stillness is how it becomes stable. And from there, then awakening can happen. So read through this. Like I said, I'm not going to go through all the details, but there is it's $330. You'll have the live sessions, you'll have the replays. You'll also have a learning portal. The learning portal is going to have this year's body of work and last year's body of work. So it's actually very valuable. There's a lot in there. If you want to go deeper, you can. Don't let the learning portal slow you down and be like, oh, I'm not getting it all. No FOMO about the learning portal. But if you dive in, there's wealth there. There'll be a WhatsApp group and sisterhood, and there's probably more, but I'm going to let that be, and I'm going to stop sharing now. We have literally just a few moments, so I want us to have a moment to share, but also to stitch out and to complete. So what I think we should do is complete and then stop the recording and then debrief, so it's you're not on the recording, and then it's personal and private, if that's okay. Okay, so how about this? How about let's just pause. We just went through a lot, and as we're closing our circle, let's sense and feel into what you received here today. What's one thing or a few things that really spoke to you and that you received? And if you could put that in your chat, and if you then we can presence that, and then we'll complete and we'll answer questions as soon as we complete. We'll just stop the recording, and then you receive the sunlight. Beautiful. And so as we're receiving what we just experienced, so we can have we can integrate that in your replay, in your handout, your email. You're going to get an email. It'll have the replay, it'll have the links to spring qigong, it'll have the links to women's wisdom, it'll have two handouts, one about hormones and one about all the slides you saw that I created. And if you have any questions for me, you can always just email me. And I just really want to say thank you so much for your time. And as we're completing, we're stitching out, and I can tell that some people received a lot of illumination from the sunlight. And then Rochelle said she received the deep feeling in my ovaries connecting to the practice, and a very clearly created pearl of light by it spiraling in the cauldron. So the pearl, dragons and pearls go together. that pearl will be circulated through your entire being, my love. As you can see over there, there's a pearl. That's not really a pearl, but it's like the pearl right there. Ball of light. And Lucy received a vision, a new way of envisioning this next part of my life, more in connection with my life cycles. And so, with that, my loves, I am so grateful for you and am available to you if you have any questions. And I just bless you all. May you walk in beauty. Mm.